it's interesting. The other day I was having a conversation with someone, and their opinion was that fast bowlers have a very limited amount of deliveries that they can bowl in a session. And they didn't want them to necessarily waste those deliveries by not bowling to a batter, because batters need the practice as well. Where do you stand on traditional net bowling in terms of spot bowling and bowling drills versus running in during a net? What can players do during those situations to focus and try to improve?
Well, I'm going again. So if again, there's no wrong or right, Simon, but I think you have sidearms, you have throws, you have loads of ways where batters could practice now. Now, I think at times it depends on the situation, but bowlers need to practice their skills, and sometimes you have to take a batter out of that situation for them to practice those skills. Someone might need to work on the slower ball, the Yorkers, just hitting one length, and that's where spot bowling come in. So if the bowler is happy and has cover everything, then there's no harm in bowling at full pace or whatever to the batsman if that's what he's want. But there needs to be a flexibility in there where the bowler is allowed to kind of practice his skills as well. What do you reckon around that, Andrew?
As Dan said, it's about execution and how you want them to execute. What works for one bowler might not work for another. A guy will tell you he wants to work on his lines, his defensive lines to the left-hander, and he might need spot bowling. As another guy would probably need a left-hander in the net going at him to see how he reacts under pressure. And it is just sometimes it is trial and error. I mean, as Dan said, you get players. He has gotten players 2 and 3 days before competition that he's got no information about, and it's about learning, what works for this guy. Put them in the situations and have some record as to how he performed under what situation, and see if that will work for him going forward.
You spoke about left-hand, right-hand combinations in terms of batters and making those adjustments. It's something that a lot of young players struggle with. What are some of the key tips that you could give to a young right-arm over fast bowler to help with those adjustments of lines?
It's all about angles. It's all about comfort at the point of delivery. It is all about executing and not putting yourself under pressure. And if you do happen to come under pressure, please be as relaxed, and please find what makes you as relaxed as possible to execute, the delivery. It's one delivery at a time. It's one delivery at a time. You decide early and what you want to do, and back yourself to execute your skills. A lot of times it's just basically people putting themselves under the mental pressure and not being able to execute when the mind isn't clear. So a lot of time we look and say, it's technically this, his left hand is not going where it should be, it's not holding his left hand long enough, he's not finishing his action, and most of the time it is really just mental. It's not being as relaxed as you are supposed to be and staying in the moment and just carrying out, back yourself to carry your skills.
What kind of mental skills can a player develop, and how can you help them to remain calm and have that clarity in execution? What are some of the things that you've done with your young fast bowlers at the Windward Islands?
I would say players, are like diamonds. You want to create a diamond, you need a lot of heat and a lot of pressure. You put them in scenarios. I can give an example. There's a guy, he was in the West Indies squad this year. He's touring in England now, Preston Knoxville. Met him last season, and by all shows, he probably was nowhere near the squad. But every day he came to practice, he challenged the best batter on the squad every day. It was a friendly war, which was very healthy and very good for the squad. Sometimes when you have a top player in the squad, and I can tell you, by example, I played a lot of cricket with and against Chris Gale, and when Chris would come to practice and Chris hit the first 2 balls out the ground, all the bowlers, your plans start to go through the window. I can remember we're having a practice session, which lasted probably about a half an hour, because Chris decided he was going to take on all the fast bowlers that day, and all the balls ended up across the road over by Camperdown and never came back. And, you know, if you have a batter in your squad who is dominant as he is, and, you know, I mean, at the first class level, you check Evan Smith's record, it's second to none to anybody in the region. And this young man would come to practice every day and he would challenge Devon, and he would challenge how many times he's going to get him out, and he would put him under real pressure. And more times than not, he would win. You know, he backs his skills, and and if he's challenging the best player on our team, which probably statistically is the best batter in the region at first class level for many years, you know, why wouldn't he not do it against other players who he thinks are probably, you know, lesser skill or as lesser, who put less pressure on him as Devon would. And, you know, it worked for us this season. He came out our top wicket taker and found himself in our West Indies squad. You know,
did that young man want to take on that pressure? Or was that something that you created that environment and you had to encourage him to take it on?
No, he wanted it, and the more I tried to create the pressure on him, he would respond in even a better way, you know. And you know those are things that you look for. Those are things. It's not just the skill of the player. Sometimes it's the will and determination of the player that will separate him from your bunch. Because I've known players who are way more skillful than others. That, you know, you will pick a guy just because of his big heart. You know, and when you put him in pressure situations, you know, 9 out of 10 times what you're gonna get from him. So it's about creating as a match or above match pressure in your practice session to see how your players will respond when they're faced with such situations in the games.
All right, Donovan, here's one for you. You've set your challenges. You've taken the player out of their comfort zone. He doesn't respond, or maybe he doesn't perform as he would like. How do you build the confidence of a fast bowler? Let's say especially a young, less experienced fast bowler. How after setting those challenges, how do you pump those tires up? What are some of the things that you could do?
Well, firstly, when you taking him out that comfort zone, you wanna reassure him that you're giving him confidence, you know, and you might say, look, you know, this might work, it might not work, but the only way we're gonna know unless we try it. So once you kind of, you know, ensure him and back him that this is, and give him and have clarity between both of you, the coach and the player, this is how we're going about it. So if it doesn't work, then he doesn't go in a state where he's nervous and don't want to try things anymore. So you want to give him that confidence and that backing. So if he makes those mistakes, he knows that he knows that he has your backing, and you know that's all it is. You know, so you could challenge anyone as much as possible, but it's all about backing it.
All right, that's fair enough. Here's a direct question from one of the fast bowlers in the club. He says he bowls a beautiful outswinger and consistently does that. There are occasions that the batsmen continue to miss it. Potentially it swings a bit too much. How can he adjust, or what should he do to threaten the edge a little bit more, or the stumps? What can he do?
That's a very, very good question, because it all depends on how much he's swinging. And, you know, you don't want to encourage him not to swing it, because I think if he's swinging it, he's doing that, it's only a matter of time before he's going to nick one. Maybe you look to kind of, you could, one of the things you could look at the batsman guard. Where is he standing? All of these things. Does he has a trigger? Does he move across? Where does he want to start? He doesn't want to start it top of middle. Doesn't want to start it top of off. Is he batting? You know, is he coming outside off some? Doesn't want to go around the wicket. Loads of ways you could try, but it's all about, you know, just trial and error, and maybe have a look at what the batsman do, and then work out a way to kind of to find the edge. But there's no wrong or right in that either. But I would encourage him to continue trying to swing it.
All right. So with the shortened season in the UK, there probably will be a move towards T20 cricket, or definitely 50-over cricket, limited overs cricket. Mm-hmm. We have a young fast bowler who is left-handed, has the ability to bring the ball back in. He's being hit down the ground consistently because he's looking for that swing. Mm-hmm. What's the default? Does he change his length, or does he change his field? What does he do?
Number one, Simon, no fast bowler likes to be driven down the ground all the time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if he likes to be driven down the ground, which I don't think he does, obviously, you know, you try to help him to pull back the length a little bit. You know, drive it can be very successful for batters, and it can be also detrimental. You know, if he's swinging the ball, if he's moving the ball around, that is what you encourage front foot play. You know, depending on whichever swing he's getting. Say he's getting the ball to swing back into the batsman from over the wicket. Obviously, he's looking for to attack the stumps. He's looking for LBW. But if he's continuously getting driven down the ground, there's a possibility that he might be over pitching. You know, even though you're looking for that, instead of hitting the stumps halfway up the ground, you try to let him pull back the length, 6 or 12 inches, where he might hit the stumps at the top of half. It becomes a little bit more difficult for the batter to execute a drive.
Mm-hmm. But and in terms of the field placing as well, Simon, if the ball is swinging and he's trying to hit the stumps or trying to get the guy LBW, it's a good thing. But as Andrew says, if he pulls the length back, but you still want to have the field set to protect him, not all the way back, but he's going to have to understand that if he's a swing bowler and he's trying to get someone LBW, and occasionally someone's going to play a good shot. Okay? So he has to understand that if it's been consistently getting it 3 or 4 times in a row, he's definitely bowling a little bit too full. And it probably can pull it back.
Okay. Limited overs cricket, club cricket. How many variations are necessary? And how do you put together an over? Do you start the over saying, I want to bowl one variation an over, one slow ball, one variation? Or do you go ball by ball? How do you plan at the start of the innings or at the start of the over?
Depends on the situation. If you're bowling at the end, at the death, so, you know, you might be bowling, say, the 18 or the 19 over, or even the 20th over. I would say that it depends on the batter. So first thing you want to work out, you know, and I know we don't get that in club cricket, but if you don't understand the batter's strength, then you want to go to your strength. What is my best ball I'm going to bowl to him? What is my best ball? Is my best ball a length ball? Okay, that didn't work. So what's my go-to? Okay, where do I want him to hit me? So all these little things you have to work out. Sometimes bowlers can get a little bit too overexcited and a little bit too kinky, and they're trying to bowl 6 different slow balls. You know, you want to have 1 or 2 of those and a good Yorker and a bumper. And then you practice those. And then it's all about the situation. When do you go to them? What is the best ball to this guy? It might be a number 11 batsman who maybe, you know, you don't want to go too full to him, so because you might miss your Yorker and he's only going to go for a swing. So you might want to go length and go tits height. It might be someone who is set and you have to bowl a change of place, wide or straight, or then hitting the leg side, as what Richie talked about earlier. But it all depends on the scenarios. But again, the key thing is make sure that you back your skills.
Richie, here's one for you. Mm-hmm. T20 game, very mm-hmm. short. Mm-hmm. At what point in time do you go cross seam and get your spinners, get the ball in a better condition for your spinners? If it's swinging, do you continue to take care of it, or do you try to get rid of that hardness as soon as possible?
You work for what's working. You work with what's working for you. So if it's swinging or if it's moving around, you try your best to exploit that and try to gain most of your success from that. Hopefully you have enough players to execute, you know, that skill and use that ball as much as possible. And if it's not working, then you start to employ the strategies to get the ball, you know, a little bit more rougher, so you can get your spinners involved. You know, it's a touchy topic, because when you look at the success of most of the spinners in the white ball game, especially T20, those are the ones who are able to bowl the new ball. So, you know, even if the ball is swinging around, you still want to get your trump card in the game. Calling names, an example, you know, for when West Indies won both T20 World Cups, our most successful bowler was Samuel Badri. And he is a spinner that bowls the new ball. He bowls mainly in the power play. And that didn't stop the other guys from the other end getting the ball to swing around and executing their skills. So it is about the strategy that you plan to employ. It's about exploiting what's working for you. So the ball might be swinging, but the best bet is to use a player like Badri who executes his skills better in the power play, better with the new ball, and he doesn't come back very well at the back end. So it's about the balance of the attack that you have. It's about the condition that you're playing. It's about the opponents that you're playing against as well. So it's a combination of things. It's all about, trying to get 10 wickets, and if not, get 10 wickets trying to reduce, the team to the lowest total possible. That's always the game. And it's what's going to work for you. If it's swing on the day, if you have a spinner that could bowl the new ball, that can, get his 4 overs out the way for 10 runs quickly, you use that. And then you can, slide in one of your lesser bowlers to give you 2 quick overs when, by the time you look on the board, it's 12 overs gone, the team is only 65. So it is a touchy, scenario, and it is just based on who you have available to execute those skills.
All right, so let me ask you this one, Trash. Fast bowlers in the past, the characteristics that some coaches used to look for: tall, ugly, and don't particularly smell great, right? You were extremely good at your early age. Some people might say you hit all of those characteristics and tick those boxes. What do you know as a coach look for in a fast bowler, a young fast bowler? Not at a professional level. You're trying to develop that person. What do you look for?
Well, the main ingredient, in cooking that pie is pace. It's not impossible, but it's hard to teach someone to bowl fast. And, bowling fast is a combination of things. Mainly, the fast twitch fibers in your body, the body composition, not necessarily body composition, the body amount of fast twitch fibers are normally close to or equal to a sprinter. Not necessarily somebody who can bowl long, because you have guys who can bowl for a whole session, 2 hours, and you won't bowl quicker than 70 miles an hour. And, you have the guy who can come and from ball 1, he's hitting 85 and work it up to 90 miles an hour. So the main ingredient is pace, and then you look for the natural skill that this guy possesses without causing too much strain on his body. That is something that I take very personal, and it's something that I look out for very early in my young fast bowlers. I have been blessed with injuries. From I was a young boy. I had my first stress fracture, which wasn't diagnosed when I was 14 years old. I didn't know what it was. Well, I was hitting people in the head and bowling bumpers at that age. So, the main ingredient is pace, and then you look for the natural skill. How does he move the ball? And then you look at his body alignment, and you try not to over bowl him. And that is something that I was unfortunately mismanaged when I was younger, where I used to bowl a ton of overs at schoolboy cricket, and then I would come on the weekend and repeat it at the club level. And that is just management. And I know now there are restrictions. Young fast bowlers can't bowl more than 6 overs in a spell. They can't bowl more than 18 overs in a day's play. And if they do, they've got to have 3 or 4 days rest before they can probably repeat or do any physical activity. So it's about managing the workload. You have identified that this young man has pace. You try to get him a little bit stronger so that he can execute the pace and the skill for longer. And the main thing is that, his safety. You don't want to hurt the player. And it's not everybody has the mental toughness and, the dedication to come back from injuries. I've known players who have had, there's just one of the injuries that I've had and he's never played sport again. And, you want to keep them in tune. You want to see them reach the highest potential. And, it's just about management.
All right, so I'm happy that you brought up, your injuries, the history of injuries. Can you share with us some of those major injuries you've had? You spoke about being overbowled at an early age and the restrictions now helping the young fast bowlers. What did you have to do to get over those injuries? And what were some of them?
Well, one of the things I had to do, well, one of my better friends now is a medical doctor. And, you know, and that is just, for me, spending a lot of time with him and the physio. And that was one of the reasons, the main reason I ended up going back to university and studying sports sciences, you know, and studying biomechanics and understand how the body moves and, you know, all the exercise physiology courses that teaches you how to what the body does when it comes under the stress of exercise and what sort of reaction you expect to get and the things that you do to prepare and the things that you do to prevent injuries as well. I've had almost everything under the sun. I've had the stress fractures at the back. I've had the heel spurs in the ankle. I've had the multiple knee operations, which I have been, you know, I've come back from all of them. And my determination was that, you know, I would rehab twice as hard as any injury I've had before. I would spend more time with the physio. Sometimes I would even cheat the physio. So I've had a case where I was actually in the gym, you know, doing leg extension with the stitches still in my knee. And that enabled, you know, me to get my knee very strong enough, you know, so that I could return a month earlier than the doctor and the physio probably expected me to. And it was just generally my determination and my will to succeed, you know, and I really wanted to play cricket at the highest level. And that was, you know, that was fueled a lot by my bowling partner, you know, Jermaine Lawson. You know, him and I played every level of cricket together. And, you know, watching Jermaine excel and got selected onto the West Indies team very early, that was something that, you know, gave me the drive to know that, you know, I can do this as well. He was always very friendly. I was always very happy when he got selected. I always felt like I got selected as well. I always cheered for him and he cheered for me as well, rooted for each other. There was never any malice. There was never any bickering. There was never any bitterness. We just really wanted to see each other succeed. And that was one of the driving forces for me. And he would share some of these, you know, experiences with his body as well. He struggled as well at some point, and he would draw on me as his reference, as he has had, you know, almost some of the injuries that I had. He had his, whatever I had, he would have it like 2 or 3 years later. And he would use me as a reference point of what we would do, you know, for him to get back on the park. And, you know, we feed off each other, and that was very good for me.
All right, so I know you had those serious back injuries and you had to remodel your action. I would say a significant remodeling. A question that came in earlier was, once a player is 25, 21, 22, that type of age, an experienced player in terms of having bowled with their action a long time, how much change is too much? And how much should a player at that age, if it's not risking injury, should just be satisfied?
Scientifically, it says that it takes 10,000 repetitions for the brain and the body to perform the action naturally. It is not, I would say you would write off a player that is over 25 that has to make physical changes. Once again, it will boil down to his will and determination and how hard he plans to work in rehabilitation to make his action safer for his body while still executing his skills, you know, at the best way he can. When I was taught how to bowl side on when I was young, and, you know, it was said that that was a contributing factor to my early back injuries. And, you know, it then forced me to learn how to bowl a lot more chest on, which changed my whole training program, my whole strength program. You'd have to be working different muscles now. And, you know, I was lucky that I was exposed to a guy who understands what the requirements were and how hard I had to work. I was sent to Australia to the cricket academy to the bowling specialist, Troy Coley, who is now, the top bowling coach in Australia. And, he was very knowledgeable, and he was never shy of sharing whatever information. Even now, I can send him an email and he would respond very quickly as to what he think would be best for whatever player. So I was very blessed that I had, good people at the time to help me with the transition. Even, my friend Andre Coley, who's currently the coach of Jamaica team, and even Robert Samuels, are guys who volunteered their time in assisting me in making those changes in my action that helped me to get back on the park and perform at high levels.
Yeah, that determination as well, that probably propelled you. All the physical requirements and activities that you needed. You need that drive as well, and the mental capacity. Both of you played club cricket in England. Both of you didn't have caterers to deal with or to prepare for you. Day before an all-day game, Saturday club cricket, 120 overs. What do you have the night before? Just give us some examples for the young players. And then potentially, what do you have for breakfast? And let us say that it was a serious match and you were taking it seriously.
All right, so normally have maybe some porridge, some fruits, and I will always walk with a little, packet of fruits or a protein bar or whatever it is. It depends on what happened. If say we are batting, then that's when I have a big lunch, like 2 hours before. So I'll find some food to eat, because I never eat just before I go out and bowl, because Andrew probably agree with you. One of us probably be opening the bowling, so you're not gonna eat before. So you normally eat in those two hours when the team is batting, if you're batting late, and then that gives you maybe 2.5 hours with to kind of have enough in you to kind of carry on. That's club cricket, and then after I will maybe have a big dinner. So that's what my club cricket schedule used to be.
Richie?
Well, fortunately, my years being in England improved my culinary skills. I was very fortunate that I grew up in a house with my mother and my grandmother, and I never had any other reason to go into the kitchen other than when I wanted something to drink from the fridge. But living in England, I used to, if I didn't play on a Sunday, I would cook like a proper meal that would last me for days, because I would leave my house in the morning and go and coach all day, and then turn up at the club and then practice and coach in the evenings. So I wouldn't have a lot of time to come in every evening and prepare a proper meal. So I do as big of a cooking I can do on the weekend, on Sunday, when I do have the time. On a Friday, I would try to eat as proper as I can, load up on my carbs, because I would try not to eat too much or eat anything at all for breakfast in the morning. Because, as Dan said, I'm always opening the bowling, and I don't want to be called upon to bowl first thing up in the morning and then I have a big, heavy meal in my stomach. And I try to have something very small 2 hours before the game, 2 hours before warm-up. So when it's my time to go, I'm nice and balanced and I'm ready to carry out the job. And, if we are batting first, I could, I would always have something. The clubhouse is always open for us to have a couple of sandwiches, if we're batting, so that, if you do get a chance to bat, you blow that out, and when it's your time to bowl, you're ready to go again. But you try not to be too heavy on the morning of the game.
All right, so sticking with club cricket, English club cricket, we have training sessions maybe once, twice a week. Some people might be able to find a third session with a friend during the week. For fast bowlers, let us say they are over the age of 18, 19, so ECB regulations do not apply to them. What's a good workload before a match on a Saturday, throughout a week?
Throughout the week?
Yeah.
Warm-up is key, Simon. I think a proper warm-up, a good 20 minutes or half an hour warm-up, and some good stretches, and maybe bowl 5 over flat out 3 times a week, because they only bowl in 10 overs on a Saturday. I think you should be fresh to bowl Saturday. You can bowl more, but I think if you add in those warm-up in that, a proper warm-up in those 5 overs, it will become, and then you bowl flat out for 5 overs. Not, because what I find with nets even now, and I'm being quite pleased this year. I haven't been away this this summer, so I've been down at the club, and the youngsters, they pick up so much bad habit. They just come straight to the net, just start stretching under the tree, and then go in the net and start bowling spin, and they're a fast bowler. That's their warm up. So I kind of changed that in the last couple of weeks, so everyone comes up to warm up for 15 minutes before they can at least bowl. So the warm up is very key, and it's very important. So, you guys as senior players, I would encourage you guys to get the youngsters to warm up properly before they come in the nets.